Dear data professionals and dear data enthusiasts, my name is Piira Heiskanen. I represent Tietoevry Tech Services, and I have the pleasure to really welcome you to this DataVision conference. DataVision conference by EDM Council has had a global success, and it has been held in various locations. But I'm really thrilled to have this opportunity to have this DataVision conference for the very first time in Finland. As many of you know, EDM Council is the leading global association advocating the standards, best practices, and education on data and analytics management topics, both to kind of business people and data professionals. I think I'm very thrilled to have EDM Council here today to share their global perspective on the data management matters to us. When with the team we were discussing that what should we discuss today, we kind of acknowledged that many people outside this our nice data community do not yet realize how important data management is for creating business value. That's why we want to today touch this topic in several panel discussions. So we will discuss in one panel about how data management can act as a catalyst for strategic transformation. And also later we will discuss on another panel discussion how kind of sustainability action proven by data can also offer a kind of business advantage.
Okay, so my name is Juho Vermaja. I'm the Data and AI Sales Lead at Microsoft. I'm super happy to see you all in this event, as data management is becoming more and more important now in this era of AI. The speed the technology is brought in various forms and shapes is increasing, and the data quality, the security compliance, the availability is coming in all of the industries more and more important. So again, on my behalf, welcome. And now I'll hand over to John Bottega, President of the EDM Council.
Good morning, everyone. You can all hear me, I assume? Yeah? So I heard a rumor that the people in this room are interested in data. Maybe? Well, good, because what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about the evolution of that profession and where it came from, where we are today, and what the outlook is going forward as a kickoff to today's event. So you heard some of the panels that will be discussed today. I'm sure the topics there are going to be near and dear to all of your hearts as you try to drive your data programs within your organizations. But I want to start back. I like sometimes to look back. You know, where did we come from? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Quick introduction about myself. I'm the president of the EDM Council. I started out as an application developer, and then I stumbled into data management. That seems to be the fact with a lot of people. I was given the role of head of data quality back in the 1990s, when no one knew what data quality was, and that was usually a place where you put people to go to die. But good news, successfully ran that group for 10 years, built some of the early reference data repositories, and sort of got that mode going of centralizing information and use and reuse was the concept then. Fast forward, I was then brought into Citibank as the first chief data officer in 2006 when the role was just beginning, and we're going to talk a little bit about that shortly. I spent some time in the public sector with the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury Department during that really boring period of our financial history, the financial crisis. Then went back into the private sector as enterprise CDO at Bank of America, and I've been now with the council for 10 years. And it's been a great run. I've seen this industry just grow in that period of time, and I'm going to share some of that with you. You see our agenda for today that was shared just a moment ago. A couple of, let's see, I think one of these is there we go. We've got an opening panel to discuss about resistance and resilience, leveraging sustainable data. We're going to take a quick break. All of the doors are locked, so you cannot leave. You can break, you got to come back, okay? Then afterwards, you'll hear a little bit about the council itself and some of the things that we do, so we're going to share with you those facts. One last panel, and then stay tuned because we have a drawing at the end, but you have to be here to win, so you have to come back. I have to thank our two main sponsors, Tieto Avery and Microsoft. Please give them a round of applause. Great location. Thank you so much, and thank you for having us here. This is my first trip to Finland, to this region of the world. I've been invited back in January. I hear it's a great time to come back in January. Balmy weather. It's going to be really, really exciting. So I've already put my Amazon purchase request for heavy clothing when I come back in January. But again, thank you to both great sponsors, great partners with the EDM Council. So if you are a data management professional today, you're in an exciting and growing profession. When I started my first role as Chief Data Officer, they didn't even have the title in the directory of titles at my company, at Citibank, at a big bank. So they had to make it up when I first started. Today, we've got Chief Data Officers in every industry, public and private sector, globally. The role has grown from kind of back office to front office. It's really really excelled. And just to give you a little sense, we run a survey every year, and just a couple of facts from that survey. 88% of the respondents said they have active data management programs. CDOs in the industry, 80% of the financial respondents have titled CDOs, and 60 in other industries. This was a fascinating fact that came out. 86%, so I'll average it out, 80% of the data professional teams now report into the C-suite. Again, when I started, they used to call us the team down under because we were in the basement somewhere and they just kept us in the dark. But now that role is a prominent role within organizations. As exciting as this is, I'm sure sometimes you feel like this guy. Right? Rolling that rock up a hill constantly, and it comes rolling back down. We still have challenges in this space. And why? This stuff's hard. It's hard to do. Tons of legacy systems, tons of legacy data, unwinding all of this, dealing with lots of people. And I always said data management is easy if you get rid of all the people, but you can't. So you have to coordinate across a multitude of functions within an organization. It is still hard to sell. It amazes me after all of this advances and now with AI and so forth, we still find we have to convince management that they need to invest in data management. Right? It is hard to implement. If it was easy, we wouldn't be here. Right? Hard to orchestrate, because again, here's the dirty little secret. The data management organization does not manage data. The organization does. And it's the role of the data management organization to get everybody within the organization to do the proper things around how to manage that asset. Because it takes a village. It's a systemic project. It takes a long time. When I was first starting out and we put forward our first project, that was I don't know if the word project and program, is there a difference here? I know in the States it is. The concept that a project ends and a program goes on. Everybody thought data management was a project. When is it going to end? When are you done? 6 months in, okay, no more funding. Right? We had to convince them that this is something that's sustainable. And my response to that was, well, would you fire the CFO? Or would you fire the chief risk officer? No, those are ongoing disciplines within our organization. Skills are missing. It's still hard to find people. Across the globe, and I hear this everywhere I go, universities do not teach data management. They might teach data science, they might teach analytics, but they're not teaching the basics around data management, architecture, data governance, data quality. Those are skills that you pick up kind of on the job. And as soon as you have somebody, they go off to the next company. Right? So that's still a challenge. And it is hard to sustain. And one of the reasons why it's been hard to sustain is, as a profession, we're lousy at marketing. We don't tell the story. We don't tell people why this is a successful thing to do. So we have to constantly enforce the return on the investment of the programs that we run. Right? So the council, which you'll hear about more today, developed these two flagship frameworks. One focused on data management, the DCAM, another focused on cloud data management, the CDMC, and you'll hear more about this today. But what we've done is basically codified the capabilities you need to develop these programs. And this is being endorsed both in the public and private sector. Across the globe, we've got companies all over using this as their frameworks. In fact, the Office of the Inspector General of the Federal Reserve asked us if they could use the DCAM to assess the Federal Reserve's data management readiness. And in February of this year, they produced this report, which was presented to Congress, where they endorsed the DCAM as the model to use. We were absolutely thrilled. Very, very excited by that endorsement. As a result, other public sector entities, the U.S. Treasury Department, the Army, the Department of Defense, SEC, all joined the council. And now we're working globally. So about 2 hours after this ends today, we're off to Germany, meeting with the ECB. And the ECB is endorsing DCAM, and they're going to introduce that to their regional banks. So we've seen this concept grow. From when I started, there was nothing. There was no documentation to now we have proven methodologies that we could use to bring into our organizations. And again, you'll learn more about that as we talk throughout the day. But let me take a moment now and just give you a little bit of that journey of the CDO. Okay? What is a Chief Data Officer? That's a rhetorical question. I'm not going to ask you to define that. But where do you go today if you want to get a definition? You go to ChatGPT. Okay, so ChatGPT says that a Chief Data Officer is a senior executive responsible for overseeing an organization's data strategy and management. The primary role is to leverage data as a strategic asset and drive data-driven decisions. Pretty good definition. But it's not just the CDO, it's everybody in this field. The data scientists, the analysts, the governance officer, the quality engineers, architects, everybody adheres to that, turning this into kind of an art more than it is a science. Yeah? So when we look back at this art of data management, Kathy Doss, and I did some Google research, and of course Google is the truth, right, when you do a Google search. Sorry, Microsoft, I didn't mean to offend anybody in the Microsoft team. I should change that, right? I use Microsoft Search Query. All right. I found Kathy Doss, 2002, was the first named Chief Data Officer at Capital One. Following Kathy, Usama Fayed, Yahoo. Interesting thing about Usama Fayed was he was more a data scientist than I would say he was a Chief Data Officer, but he had the title. And in fact, nowadays, most Chief Data Officers are getting into analytics and data science too, so maybe he was a front runner in that. And then came this guy in 2006 at Citi, and following my appointment was a gentleman named Peter Serenita, also 2006 over at JPMC. So I call us CDO Beta, because we were the experimental group. And if you do the math, we're now 21 years old. We're now legal. So I want to talk about what happened over the past 21 years. So there's my CDO Beta. This was the role of the Chief Data Officer back in the beginning. It was more operational. Right? There was very little strategy, I would say. It was more about cleaning up data, correcting trade fails, building your client database, your repositories. That was the main role of the Chief Data Officer in the beginning. And I'm going to do a little Amazon thing here, like a Amazon cart. I'm going to put those skills into my shopping cart, if you will. CDO 1.0, 2008. What happened in 2008? The financial crisis, right? So where was the focus? It was a defensive posture, all about risk, compliance, regulatory oversight, and all of those skills. It had to be, you had to be risk focused. You had to adhere. The BCS 239 was introduced. Audits, regulatory oversight, MRIs, that we were just inundated with that. The only nice thing about this one was we didn't have to justify the budget. You just went to management and said, we're about to get a regulatory review, and they handed you money, which was pretty nice back in the day. Right? But that was the focus. So let's put those skills in the basket. CDO 2.0. Well, once things slowed down a little bit from the regulatory perspective, companies were saying, okay, now what do we do with this? What do we do with these folks? What do we do with the skill set? And the attention shifted to more of the offensive. analytics, the introduction of AI, early AI, data ethics, data privacy became a big issue. Right? So now the poor CDO, he or she that became the lightning rod of every problem in the organization, let's give them more stuff to do. So we asked them to cover all of those responsibilities. Okay. So where are we going forward? CDO X.X. Innovation. So we're on the forefront now of going from, think about just literally 15 years ago, 20 years ago to now, went from a pure operational role to now being in the forefront of today's innovation within organizations. And if you're wondering what the skills are required there, there's a lot of them. Cloud, data sharing, confidential computing, as I mentioned, data ROI, validating why we're doing what we're doing. Data democratization, I love that expression because it's almost not a misnomer, but you're asking to make data available, but don't make it available and protect it at the same time, right? And do it responsibly. Semantic modeling and knowledge graph. Who here is getting into semantic modeling, knowledge graph? Anybody? One. Good. There we go, got one. The short on that, from a data architecture perspective, if you think about that history, go back to when data was on tape. It was one dimension. 52 years ago, IBM invented the relational database, row column, right? Knowledge graph is taking data into 3 dimensions, into a map. And there's immense capability in that expression. Today, if you, I won't say that other G word, if you do a query on the internet, right, the internet search engines are using knowledge graph to explore the connections, right, when you do those queries. Knowledge graph, excuse me, is being used for analysis of financial fraud, human trafficking, supply chain logistics, all those things that have multiple dependencies. It's a fantastic technology. It's something that we can explore at another time. Data resiliency, which is very big now in the Euro region, and it's bleeding into the US. Digital twins, ESG sustainability reporting. Who here is involved in their ESG sustainability responsibilities? Okay, what I find interesting in that is everybody's kind of letting go of the steering wheel and going, oh, it's a new thing we have to do. No, it's not. It's the same old stuff. It's data. Right? Where's it coming from? Is it a trusted source? Is it auditable? Can we deliver it to the decision makers? Right? I love our role in that because we don't have to get into all the political stuff. We just have to supply data that's trusted and let the decision makers make those decisions. Right? And that's the role of the data professional. Data fabric, data mesh, a whole new way of looking at how data is democratized, how it's productized. The idea of having a place where you can get the data in one spot, a data marketplace, that's the new way of looking at distributing data. And then, of course, generative AI. So let me put all of those skills into my shopping cart. And now if I kind of step back for a second and take a look at what the data professional is responsible for, it's a lot of stuff. And I probably left out a bunch of things too. Right? But here's the one thing that we have to be kind of cautious of. Don't be enamored by the shiny ball, this stuff. We all want to get into this, the AI side of it, the analytics, but we have to keep in mind that the only way this is going to work is if we do that. And that's the challenge we have as professionals to, again, tell the story to our colleagues, to management, to the public, that there is a responsibility in managing the asset in order to enable these new technologies. Right? Where's my colleague? Eric, where are you? What was the comment that was made? A bad data into analytics is worse than no analytics at all.
Good analytics with links at all.
Okay. And why? Because if we put bad data into good analytics, and then we trust it, right? And we're getting bad results. So this is critically important. We have to not lose sight of that. And just a couple of quick examples when we do lose sight of it. ECB throws down the gauntlet on BCBS 239. Right? 2013, it was issued. 10 years later, we still haven't quite got it done yet. Right? Not the analytics stuff, not the AI stuff, just the basic data management components. The AI Act, right? That's going to tie into what we're talking about here. And cybersecurity issues. Now, it's not ultimately the responsibility of the data professional to protect against cyber attacks. That's the chief, usually the chief risk officer or the person who's building the protection, the perimeter controls. But it's up to us to identify the crown jewels, right? What data is important? And that goes to basics, metadata, classification. This is our responsibility to work with these professionals to protect the data that we have within our organizations. So let me now go back to my first definition of the data professional. This is our definition. Thank you, ChatGPT. But I wanted to go to another source now that I've kind of described the role of the Chief Data Officer. So I went to ChatJAB. And ChatJAB says, that's by my initials A, by the way, that's me, JAB. The Chief Data Officer is a senior executive responsible for overseeing one of the most important strategic assets, its data. Through the application of foundational data management, all the things we spoke about, the CDO must ensure the information is responsibly protected, it's accurate, it's timely, and it's trusted. Only then can we do the fun stuff. So keep that in mind as you leave here today, as we hear the panelists discussing. This is really the basis of what we want to talk about. And again, we have to be good storytellers. Don't talk nerdy. There's a great TED Talk that says, don't talk nerdy to me. Look it up. It's a great TED Talks. We don't want to talk nerdy. We want to talk business. We want to talk things that people are going to understand. We have to be good at marketing. And above all, with great power comes great responsibility. My favorite line from the Spider-Man movies. The AI has incredible power. And if we misuse it, it's going to be really bad. My colleague explaining that. So it's our responsibility now, almost like we have to take an oath like an attorney does, right? Because we're managing the public's critical information. And with that said, pretty bright future for us. It is a career, and a pretty exciting career for ourselves who are in it for a while, for the next generation coming up. But we have to be committed to it. Hard work and a recognition of accountability. So with that, I'm going to end here and kick off the day. But before we start, I still have about 3 minutes on my time here. Any questions about what we just talked about? Any comments? I don't know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. All right, well, we'll be around for questions and for further discussion. With that, let me invite our first panel up.